The Packers start the preseason on Friday night. Where's the summer gone? I'm Charlie Sykes. Sunday Insight starts right now. Good morning and welcome to Sunday Insight. In the week that was, it's that time of year again. The State Fair begins its annual run. Can you say food on a stick? The nation's governors descended on Milwaukee for their annual meeting. The Packers get ready for the start of their preseason later this week. ALTERRA coffee changed its name to Colectivo. I don't get it either. President Obama proposed a new jobs plan, higher taxes on business and more government spending, which sort of sounds like his last one. Palermo's Pizza settles its case with the NLRB, hires back 8 workers, and calls for a worker vote on forming a union. Major League Baseball gets ready to drop the hammer on 14 players, including superstar Alex Rodriguez. A new study from the Philadelphia Federal Reserve says that Wisconsin has one of the strongest economies of any state in the country. And no, you didn't read that in the newspaper. Anthony Weiner stays in the race for New York mayor, and headline writers and late-night comedians are very grateful. And the University of Wisconsin system president, Kevin Reilly, steps down in the wake of controversy over the university's massive slush fund. But we start with last week's fast food strike. Organized by union activists, the strike demanded a $15 an hour minimum wage, about double what they make now, and the formation of a union. Now, it was hard to tell just how widespread the job action was, but the media highlighted a handful of workers who said they walked off the job to demand the super minimum wage. Supporters of the idea say they deserve to be paid a living wage. Critics pointed out the $15 price tag would cost jobs and force price increases. Joining me on our panel this morning, former state representative Michelle Lichens, the Milwaukee Community Journal's Michael Holt, and RightWisconsin.com managing editor Brian Fraley. So, what is this strike really all about? Because, I mean, I'm sorry, they're not going to get $15 an hour minimum wage.
No, they know that, and the union agitators know that that's not going to happen. This is all about keeping the troops, the minimum wage workers, riled up. Every couple of months they're going to keep doing this. It's about the left. It's very Alinsky-like tactics. It's about keeping the base riled up for the sake of being riled up.
Okay, Michael Holt.
It's also about workers trying to get larger salaries. I mean, there's no way around it. You know, we've gone from
$15 an hour.
Yeah, well, they know they're not going to get that much anyway. But, you know, we've gone from this industrial society and all these factory jobs to a service economy.
Right.
Milwaukee has. You know, most of the jobs created in the last few years have been in the service, industry, which means people are getting lower wages. Not all these people who are working at McDonald's and Burger King are teenagers anymore. Now we got college students who can't find a job working there, trying to maintain a household, working two part-time jobs.
But are these jobs worth $15 an hour?
No, it would be impractical. You know, I think I would have got a fish sandwich at one of these places. It was $4. It would be $10 if they did that.
Okay, Michelle Lichens.
You know, there are places that pay $18 an hour to work at Taco Bell, and they're out in the Bakkens, right? Because they need people. They're begging people to come out there and work, and so the market is working. You can get paid $15 to $18 an hour to work at McDonald's out there because that's what they need to pay people to find workers.
The bottom line is it unfair for big company like McDonald's to simply pay $7.50?
No, it's the way the market works, and they're going to pay what they need to pay to get qualified workers to come in and work there. I think the union actually is doing a disservice to these people. Many of these people are going to lose their job because they're not showing up to work, and they can easily be replaced.
Well, that's a part of the problem with the strike. When you have a lot of people who are willing to take those jobs, and you can't really shut down the restaurant, what is the point of the strike? You know, you mentioned who has these jobs. 70% of restaurant workers earning minimum wage are under the age of 25. 46% of them are teenagers, which is a reminder that these jobs are the entry-level jobs.
But because of the economy.
Right.
You know, we have a 42% poverty rate in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
We can't forget that. We still get one of the highest unemployment rates. We have literally hundreds and hundreds of college students applying for these jobs because they can't find a job anyplace else. So you go to school for 4 years, you owe $100,000, you know, for loans, and the only job you can get is working for $7 an hour.
Yeah. Well, Michael Holt is right. Barack Obama's economy is awful. But let's go back to the part-time job. My first job, McDonald's, Mayfair Mall, back when they had the ice rink. That was awesome. I started at minimum wage, I believe it was $3.35. By the time I left, I was making $4.70 an hour. It taught me work ethic. It taught me a lot of things. And it also taught me that I didn't want to work behind the grill and cleaning the fryers all my life. And So you work and you better yourself, you do the best you can, but you don't just take a day off, have a vacation, and then say, that's me standing up to better myself.
You know, I did a segment on my radio show that was very interesting, where we had people call up and talk about their first jobs. And again, the importance of the job, that you have to start somewhere, the entry-level job. And the problem with the idea of the super minimum wage is that it generally destroys those jobs. It will boost the number of teenagers, for example, who are unemployed, which means that that first opportunity will be taken away. And that first opportunity is huge for most people. You'll learn how to work with other people. You learn how to show up. You learn how to mop floors. You get, and you don't stay there necessarily. And that's part of the problem. You know, you're talking about the economy. We had a study just on Friday released that 36% of the millennial generation, 18 to 31, are living back home with their parents. 77% of the new jobs created in 2013 are part-time jobs.
And that's my point. And that's my point. And in the
So
county,
Obamanomics is not working, and you're not going to solve that by boosting up the, a double super minimum wage.
The county board is now considering a resolution in which any subsidized project that goes through them, I mean taxpayer money subsidizing, they're going to want a living wage of $14 to $15 an hour. This is going on all over the country. People cannot survive anymore in this economy of $7 an hour.
Yeah, but the money has to come from somewhere, and that's part of the problem. You know, unless you create these good-paying jobs, like for example the mining jobs in northern Wisconsin, which some of the same people have been opposed to, unless you create an economy that's growing those jobs, you're not going to be able to do it. I mean, otherwise, ask somebody that, if we doubled everybody's salary, would we become richer as a society? Why not just wave a magic wand and make that money appear? So what has your glass half full and what has your glass half empty this week? Let's go around the table. Michelle, you're first.
My glass is half full because someone in the mainstream media, CNN, is finally doing some digging and reporting on exactly what happened in Benghazi. But my glass is half empty because I don't believe others are going to follow suit.
Michael Holt.
Well, we haven't gone a week without rain, and it's destroyed a lot of crops, and it's flooded a lot of basements. So that's half full. But it might be, actually half full because there have been fewer motorcycle accidents because fewer people on the highways when there's a downpour.
Okay, Brian.
A glass half full. Look, this weekend the Sikh community is holding a remembrance all weekend long about the tragedy that happened a year ago, and the wonderful solidarity and unity of the community that came together in its wake. Glass is half empty because Mayor Barrett and the Mayors Against Illegal Guns are going to parachute in and exploit the tragedy for their own political purposes.
Well, my glass is half full because 57% of Americans have the good sense to oppose a federal taxpayer bailout of Detroit. It's half empty because a majority of Democrats think that is a good idea, and they're running things these days. Next on Sunday Inside, a man opens fire on a crowd at a party in Milwaukee. A 14-year-old boy is killed, 3 others wounded. Where is the outrage? Another weekend, more shootings, including a 14-year-old boy. The reaction from the city's leadership? Cue the crickets. The shooting did draw reactions, though, from 2 elected officials, Sheriff David Clark Jr. and Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, who asked the same question. Where is the outrage? Said Sheriff Clark, where are all the Milwaukee area politicians who saw a need to exploit and jump on the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman incident that happened in Florida? Alderman Donovan sounded a similar note. Has this kind of violence and loss become so commonplace that it has somehow become perversely acceptable? Have our standards really declined to such an extent? Where is the outrage? Michael Holt.
Well, actually, both of them are right. They're correct. There is still outrage. There's some organizational meetings taking place this weekend where they're trying to rally youth. There's prayer vigils all over town.
Meetings and vigils, that's it.
But
that's the deal.
Well, and there's some folks say let's arm ourselves and go out there and get them, and that could be total chaos. The number of people who are black folks, for that matter, who are getting concealed carry permits is actually skyrocketing. So people aren't just sitting around. There's a lot of people outraged, but I think a lot of people have just reached this point of frustration. They don't know what to do. We're waiting for some leader to tell us how we can channel this anger and frustration. What can we actually do to arrest this crime?
But there was anger and frustration aimed at a shooting of one teenager in Florida. We all know about the number of vigils and meetings and the number of politicians. I was looking outside of the 2 that I quoted. I couldn't find a single statement from a local elected official that it would express any outrage about a young black man, young black boy, killed in the city of Milwaukee. Why is that less outrageous?
Now, part of it is, and it's equally outrageous, but part of it is, does the media today actually go out and solicit those comments anymore? They don't. It's become so commonplace. The television stations, the newspaper, they don't even ask
Michelle Litchens.
those questions anymore.
First of all, there's two huge differences here. We had Bob Donovan in Madison pleading for more dollars to put cops on the beat, and we had the mayor of Milwaukee pleading in Madison to require people to live in a city that is perceived as unsafe. I mean, first of all, we have to take a look at that. But second, I talked to a police officer about this, and I said, what's going on in Milwaukee? And he had mentioned a few things. Number one, 151 positions are going unfilled right now. They had downsized that by 100 positions in 2010, so it's almost 250 fewer officers on the street right now. 30% of the detective positions are unfilled at the moment, and they are told often now they have to go out on patrol by themselves in cars, and so when they come upon a situation where they need backup or they need someone else there, or someone calls 911, they are told to sit in their car and wait for another car to come on the scene to help that person. I mean, that's not efficient, that's not protecting the community at all. We need to follow
But
Rudy Giuliani.
outside of Alderman Donovan, I don't hear anyone addressing this question. We just don't have enough cops.
Right.
Why
Well,
not?
if you're looking for leadership, Michael, and if the community is looking for leadership, don't look at City Hall. Don't look at the mayor and don't look for any of the aldermen. They're busy putting out press releases about gay rights in Russia. Okay, and
literally true.
And don't look for the religious community, because Micah is too busy holding rallies for $15 an hour minimum wages at McDonald's. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous. Thank God for the nurses and doctors and EMTs, especially the people that work at Freighter, the Level 1 Trauma Center, or our murder rate would be through the roof. The fact that the people that are getting shot are living now is not because fewer people are getting shot, but because people are living longer. People deserve and should be outraged about this. There are people in Metcalf Park, other neighborhoods, I don't want to label a certain neighborhood, but there are people in neighborhoods here that are held hostage by gang violence. And the mayor of Milwaukee, what's he going to do? He's going to go to Oak Creek and blame the guns.
Now, you may not want to hear it, but we're going to tell you anyway. Let's hand out some unsolicited advice. Michelle Litchens, you're first.
Well, knowing that 1 in 3 millennials, those are people between the ages of 18 and 31, are living with their parents, this is advice to parents today, consider sending your kid to a technical college. We have thousands of jobs available in Wisconsin today that pay very well. Everyone doesn't need a 4-year degree.
Michael Holt.
I have some advice for football player Riley Cooper. You know, he's the one, the tight end for Philadelphia, who was intoxicated at some concert and said he was going to jump over the fence and beat up a bunch of N-I-G-G. You know the rest of the spelling of that. My advice is you better watch your back this season, because there's a whole bunch of black folks going to take you out.
Yeah, Brian Fraley.
You got that right. That was an unbelievable story. Hey, to anyone who believes, they should be paid more for their job, no matter what it is, go for it. Do it. Try to better yourself. But don't take a day off for TV glory and think that you're empowered.
Okay, now, the cable network TLC is going to be airing a reality show focused on a man with a 136-pound scrotum. Yeah, you heard that right. So here's my advice. If you find yourself watching that show, it's a pretty good chance that you need to think about getting a real life. Coming up on Sunday Insight, the president of the UW system steps down. We'll talk about the UW budget surplus or the slush fund next. Well, the guy with the big slush fund gets his pink slip. UW President Kevin Reilly announced that he's stepping down later this year. Reilly faced strong criticism after state legislators discovered the system had amassed a surplus of more than $600 million, all the while that it had been pleading poverty and jacking up tuition. Is that what did him in, Brian Fraley?
Absolutely what did him in. Kudos to Dale Koinga and the CPA caucus for uncovering it, piecing together connecting the dots. He had no credibility left. The UW could not credibly negotiate with legislators when it came to this budget because, as you said, they've been pleading poverty year after year after year. They've been jacking up tuition year after year after year on families all throughout Wisconsin. Meanwhile, they were amassing this tremendous slush fund. He had to go. We predicted it, and he's gone.
Okay, Michael.
Well, he said that he had been planning this retirement since last fall. But I think even if that's true, I think once he ended up sitting in front of these legislators who went one by one, ridiculed him, cussed him out. They did everything but pimp slap him. You know, there was nowhere else to go. Either you fight back or, and I think in his case, he had the system, in mind. We said, it's time for me just to get on out of here.
I'm a little confused. So who's the pimp in this scenario? Would it be the
No,
UW president or be the legislator?
No, it's the legislator. I mean, it would.
Oh, okay, so what are you implying that he is then in that particular? Because okay, it's just colorful language. Okay, was that what did him in?
That is what did him in. But I also think Kevin Reilly had a passion for the system.
Yeah.
He increased the number of graduates in the state. That's great. But he was an educator. He's going back to being an educator, and I think this is something we need to look at as a system to make sure that the next person they hire to fill that position is an administrator. When you have new regents coming in asking how much they spend on travel, and the administration's office saying, we can't tell you. I mean, we need to make sure that we have our ducks in a row.
What does the UW Board of Regents, what does UW need to do to get its credibility back with the state legislature?
They need to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
They need to say, we are going to streamline everything. We are going to, be able to report to you exactly where all the money is and what we're doing. And I think they need to come up with a plan, not only for that, but a plan for the future of the education, the higher education system.
Okay,
in
now,
Wisconsin.
Brian Fraley, the Board of Regents is still dominated by appointees of Governor Jim Doyle. How influential will Governor Walker be in selecting the next leader of the UW system?
I think the regents realize they have to defer to how it is going to play with the governor's office and the legislature. They look at what happened in this last budget. They have a lot of fences to mend, and if they go outside of the realm of where Walker and the Republicans in the legislature want to go, they're going to be in for a big amount of trouble.
Well, also, as a candidate, if you are going to be, take the job as president of the UW system, you have to know that Board of Regents is going to flip at a certain point, and so you have to be aware of that, right?
They need to hire somebody who cares as much about the taxpayers who are paying the bills as the bureaucrats within the UW system.
Is there any way that Kevin Reilly could have kept his job after the slush fund was discovered?
None.
Yeah,
I don't think there was. In fact, the real tip-off was when Senator Alberta Darling, who's the co-chairman of the Joint Finance Committee, when she demanded his resignation, when she said, "I can't even imagine why you still have a job," that had to be as powerful a statement as you're going to get to the UW system. That the person who controls the purse strings basically says, "I don't trust you. I don't like you. I want you gone."
And she's a big ally of the UW system too.
Well, that's right. And what was interesting about that whole debate about the slush fund is how few defenders the UW had. It was so outrageous that not even the usual suspects stepped forward and tried to rationalize it. Is what they said this week the same thing as what you heard? Let's go around the table. Michelle Litchens.
When a Saudi prince said that fracking is going to destroy their kingdom, that's what he said. What I heard is, oh, we can't screw Americans anymore.
Yeah, Michael Holt.
You might have heard of King Gus, that's his name, he's a pimp, who just got 20 years for trafficking young girls. He actually had the nerve to say the devil made him do it. Even the devil won't take credit for that. In fact, I guess the devil's probably going to get matches and lighters to some of his victims so they can burn him in hell forever.
Brian Fraley.
The Obama administration said that unemployment is at a 4.5-year low and we're slowly and still digging ourselves out of the Great Recession. What I heard was that part-time jobs and people just bailing on the system altogether leave us at a real unemployment rate of over 10%.
Well, I heard the president say that the scandals involving the IRS and Benghazi are phony scandals. What I heard was, I need to stonewall this, and I'm hoping the media will help me do it. Next on Sunday Inside, our panel picks the winners and losers of the week. But first, here's your morning news update. It's time for our panel to pick the winners and losers of the week. Michelle Litchens, you are first.
My loser is Huma Abedin, Anthony Weiner's wife, who stood by Weiner yet again. Yes, you were Hillary Clinton's assistant, but you don't need to walk in her muddy shoes. You are one more Democrat woman who says women can't gain power unless they stay with their loser husbands. Anybody who thinks that is a loser. My winner is Wisconsin. No matter if you are a Republican or a Democrat, with the NGA in Milwaukee, showing off our beautiful state to governors from all across this great country of Wisconsin, or should make Wisconsinites proud.
Michael Holt.
Well, the losers could be county transit workers and taxpayers if the county execs plan to bring in a for-profit transportation company makes it through. We could also be winners, though, because the county board might have the power, little power they have left, to shoot this down.
Yeah, imagine that, profits. Brian Fraley.
Yeah, heaven forbid profits. My losers are the fast food workers who left their jobs for a few minutes of TV glory this week. You're being duped by well-paid labor goons who only want to get their hands on a part of your paycheck. My winners this week are all of you who have gone or are going to the Wisconsin State Fair. My wife, daughter, and I are headed there later today. There's a lot to do, and hey, lots and lots of bacon. What's not to love?
Well, I agree. My losers are the folks who walked off their fast food jobs because they wanted a 100% raise. Hey, here's the bad news. You're not going to get $15 an hour. You might get fired, and there is no tooth fairy. Winners, Packer fans. Preseason football starts this week, none too soon, and you'll be able to watch the green and gold right here this Friday night, assuming you have rabbit ears for your TV. Thanks for joining us. News by Radio Show Monday morning on News Radio 620 WTMJ from 8:30 until noon. Have a great week.